HBs. This is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two BFFs recap romance novels while commenting with our thoughts and going on tangents. Let's start off with a Patreon shout-out. Jen RR, you are a book dragon, a creature whose passion for the written word is matched only by your expansive intellect and charring wit. While most dragons hoard their belongings and guard them fiercely against intruders, you are benevolent and share with anyone who's looking for a recommendation. You shout good writing from the door of your lair, and your taste never falters. One thing you do guard fiercely, however, is your inner circle. You are incredibly protective over and take gentle care of the people you deem yours. And your fire breath is a mixed bag. You're not afraid to call out ignorance and injustice, and you can burn anything to the ground with almost zero effort. But you're quick to warm up a chilled friend with a kind word. You also give the best hugs. All right, buckle up, because it's part 1 of One War Blue by Heather Graham. We need to issue big trigger warnings for the next 2 episodes for grossly whitewashed depictions of slavery and hate speech. Okay, here we go. All right. Oh, hey, Erin.
All right.
All right.
Hello, Melody.
I am finally here. Listener, I have tormented Erin, and I feel terrible about it. The day got all messed up, and I am an hour and 15 minutes late? Yeah, it's
about
egregious.
It's okay. This
frankly.
is my husband and all my friends are out having fun, and I'm just hanging out, waiting to do my podcast on the inside when it's sunny and warm in the Alaskan outside. It's okay. It's okay. So we better have like a really fun, really good podcast about part 1 of One War Blue.
Can I tell you what I did this week to amuse myself?
Sure.
I had a little bit of a hard time getting into the mood for this book because I just have a really tough time rooting for slave-owning Southerners,
Why? I don't understand.
I just couldn't really get in the groove. So I thought to myself, why don't we try to make this charming self? And I kept on looking up hilarious old-timey Southern sayings. So buckle up, bitches.
Are you going to say them all now or pepper them throughout the show?
They're going to be peppered. And then, not only that, I've also started thinking in Southern, anachronisms. And I'm pretty stoked about it. I've been grinning like a possum eating a sweet tater. That's what I've been doing.
What? Grinning like a possum eating a sweet tater?
Mm-hmm. That's what I've been doing.
God, that's so good.
Yep. So I at least did that this week for us.
Can we make that one of the mythical creature Patreon shout-outs? A possum eating a sweet tater?
Yeah.
Rebecca, you're a possum eating a sweet tater. This is your week. You live it up.
That's right, Rebecca.
There was a post on the friendship cult this week that was like, you're trapped on a desert island with whatever the main character of the book you're reading is. And do you want to be rescued or do you want to stay forever? And I was like, rescue me from this lady. Get me off this island.
I cannot handle her.
Oh my God. Can we be done with banter? Because, man, Kieran, whatever her name is, McKay.
Kieran McKay.
She is insufferable. And not in like the cute, like,
no,
you're insufferable, slap, slap, smooch. No, that's, I think, what's her face? Who wrote this?
Heather Graham.
That's what Heather Graham wanted us to think. Yeah. However, I hate this lady. She's the worst.
If it had started in the first chapter, that would be one thing. But that prologue, she comes out swinging with her terrible self.
Since in the prologue, I was thinking, it might be okay. No, it's all the shit after it for me.
Oh my God. I cannot wait to get into this. Well, so the prologue starts off, and we're in the middle of the Civil War. It doesn't say what date. I looked all over the place to try to like figure it out, but it is post 1861, which is when the Civil War started.
Well, the Yanks are going south. First of all, bing boom bong. This is AmericaTimes, and this is our very first AmericaTimes.
That's true.
Let me explain.
America is defined as
AmericaTimes it has to be in America.
Oh.
And it also has to be a historical American time period that is like specific to America. So it's got to be like a Revolutionary War times or like a Civil War times or like specifically. Sometimes it can be like a Western time. There's a Venn diagram of AmericaTimes and Western times that there is some overlap too.
Right.
But this is our first AmericaTimes book, I think.
Yeah, I would call this a Civil War times because I find them so starkly different, Revolutionary War and Civil War, but I'm fine with AmericaTimes as well.
In my romance novels, that is in the same folder. Like, they give me the same feels of, like, we're all in America, but we're all on different sides, and, like, what, a new nation is being born. Both of them give me the same feels.
Oh, I see that. I see that. Jefferson and Washington are referenced a lot in this book.
Oh, my God. Bing Boom Bong, Civil War general name dropping is like
the cameos.
Ms. Graham's favorite thing. It's like every other sentence is like, old Jeb Stuart is doing this, and I
trained under Robert E. Lee.
The amount of Confederate name dropping is insane.
It's serious business.
Kieran, as a voice, wants us to know that she knows all the famous historical people. We even get a John Wilkes Booth mention at Harper's Ferry, which is a lot. Yes.
Oh my gosh. I have it noted in Don't Worry. I will make sure to tell you exactly when the John Wilkes Booth cameo comes up.
Well, what we can say is in the prologue, definitely the Yanks are going south and setting fire to everything. So I think we're in like a Sherman's March to the Sea, maybe, or like something like that.
Yeah, but I think it's so they're in Virginia. So like they haven't gotten down. Like I think Sherman, oh my God, come at me, history HBs.
Oh my
God, I think Sherman did the most damage in like Georgia, question mark?
Yes,
you know what I mean?
100% yes. But it does seem like the Yanks are going in a southern direction.
Oh, you know what?
And there seems to be a lot of like torching of things.
Yeah, swap my behind with a melon rind. The Yankees are coming.
Oh my God. Melody. Like, let's just be real with them right now.
Yeah.
There are 3 parts to this book.
4.
Melody and I... There's 4! Shit. Melody and I have only read the first part of the book. I've read a little bit of the second.
Yeah, a little bit of the second.
So this is going to be a 2-parter. And the idea that instead of reading half of this book, like it was our assignment to do for this book report,
right?
Instead, you memorize things like slap my ass with a melon rind.
My behind, madam. It's got to rhyme.
Oh my God. There's nothing like that in this book either. It's not like she saw like a folksy, fun saying and was like, I'm gonna Google more of those. No. There's nothing like that in this book.
This is the only way I could like really get into it because this book is beautifully written.
Yes.
It is flowery AF. It is intricate. I think the voices are very distinct because it's both her and the hero. We get a little bit of smattering of hero. Yeah.
Third person, but it is also very like redundant and also very repetitive, and also what's another word for redundant and repetitive? Like a lot of that as well. I'm like, I just read this 2 paragraphs ago. Why are we still talking about this? Snip snap, let's go. You only got 450 more pages in this thing. Let's go.
Yeah, and it's also very like hashtag not all slave owners, and I'm just not here for it.
I can't wait.
I'm not here for it.
Well, I think a lot of the Civil War was hashtag not all slave owners.
No, it was.
I think she's being true to history that like Kieran would be like,
I agree.
But I treat my slaves okay.
Oh, I treat them different. You know?
Different. Oh man, we apologize to the South for the
South
accents we're about to do.
Us.
This will be the podcast of Northern aggression.
It is. Oh boy.
Right.
Okay, so the Yankees are coming.
Yeah,
And,
so, okay.
she has married. She is a widow, ? I think she's a widow.
I think she's a widow. So Kiernan's in this big, she's our heroine, Kiernan, which is apparently a Civil War times name. It sounds to me like a 2018 mommy blogger name, but apparently it is not.
No, you know what it is? I think it's a
Kiernan.
Scottish Times name.
That's fine.
Because
it
the
sounds
Scots
like a Scottish
came
Times
over
name.
a lot of time. Yeah.
She does have fiery red blonde hair, the color of fire, and also fire and flame.
Scots, when the Scots came over, a lot of them like got land and became wealthy and owned a lot of slaves. So a lot of the South is Scottish in descent, I have learned.
I think a lot of all of us are Scottish in descent.
I am too. Yeah.
To try to breed out the Irish. Okay, so we've got Kiernan. She's in this big manor that belongs to her husband, who is maybe probably dead.
Who's definitely dead, you guys, except that I have forgotten whether or not that's true because chapter 1, we go back
Prologue's
in time.
in the future, and then chapter 1 is a rewind. But he's not there. He's at least off fighting the war, likely
he's dead, though. Super dead.
So she's in his house with a couple of kids.
She's got, and I had a little bit of a moment because she was like, my sister-in-law is 12. And I was like, what? How did that? Oh, that's right. We're fine.
Welcome to AmericaTimes.
Yeah.
So she is in this house with these kids, and all these Yanks are coming. They're going to come burn down the house.
Because she married into like the largest munitions family of the South or something like that. They made all the guns or whatever. So the Yankees are really upset with them for arming their foes. So these bitches, Colonel Norris or whoever the fuck his name is coming, and he is gonna tinder her house right down. He's
okay.
Yeah.
And already from the beginning, we know who our hero is because she's very big on this Cameron family. Yeah. Jesse and Daniel, brothers. One of them wore gray.
Oh,
and what color did the other one wear?
I believe it was blue.
I think it was blue.
It might have been blue.
So,
she's real upset with the one who wore blue. Except she also lives him.
The phrase "wore blue" happens, I don't know, conservatively 15 times in this prologue. Like, it won't stop.
It's a lot.
So it says, the other Cameron brother had been our hero. Oh, her hero. As a child, she adored him. As a woman, she had loved him. And when the world changed, she had hated him fiercely, desperately, as passionately as she had loved him. She had her beliefs and she had her loyalties. So she is in love with the Yankee Cameron.
Yeah. And
guy.
She would not, neither of them would get rid of their ideals in order to marry their genitals on a permanent basis. All right. So he's also just fun fact.
Get married.
Meh.
All right.
So she also quick fun facts about Jesse and her. He is 10 years older than her. There's a lot of borderline weird I saw her grow up and she was just a little thing and she loved to get naked and swim in the creek.
Yeah,
and,
there's a lot of by the time she was 10, she was a pretty little thing running around and driving her daddy mad. And by the time she was 18, I realized I loved her even when she was 10. I'm like, whoa.
That's right.
Walk it back, Jesse.
I had been waiting for her since she was just a toddler. Anyway.
I want to read a Confederate romance every week. That's not what I was thinking when I read this, but now when I'm doing the voices, I'm all about it. Okay.
So the Yankees are coming. Except, and he's telling her, you need to get the fuck out because we're going to burn this shit to the ground. But Sweet Fancy Moses on buttered toast, who's that ratting up he's... his ass is on fire.
Fancy?
The fanciest Moses.
I don't know that Moses was fancy. I'm not a biblical scholar, but I feel like Moses was never a fancy.
What is fancier than stone scrolls? I mean, other than inconvenient. You know what I'm saying?
Fancy things usually are very inconvenient.
That's true.
But no, so she tells these kids, okay, they're coming. They're going to burn down our house. But what I want you to do, instead of grabbing all of our possessions and all of those kinds of things, is I want you to continue doing what you're doing.
I want you to lounge. One of the boy child is I've got me a rifle and I'm going to get those Yankees. And she's like, no, you're not. They're going to murder you in the face. Go sit down.
Right.
And figure it out.
They're going to burn down our house, but what I want to do is make it as difficult for them as possible. And it's
which just means moving like molasses. Yeah, it's not like locking the door or shooting at them or anything.
No.
It's just like, go read a book and like leave the house slowly.
She's just going to go stand out on her porch, arms akimbo, and be like, I refuse to move, and you'd never shoot a lady. And it's
That's
like,
right.
What is the fucking point? Just grab your candlesticks or whatever,
right,
and get out. Like, it's
one of the nicest
conclusion.
working plantations on the South, though, madam.
And one of the worst parts is that she makes Janie, the slave, continue to cook dinner.
Yeah.
And she's like, Janie's finally like, oh, I don't have to cook you guys fucking dinner tonight. That's great, because they're coming to burn down this house that I've had to keep clean for the last, 20 years. What a great day for Janie. Congratulations. And Kiernan's like, no, you just keep cooking supper just like you were before, even though no one's going to fucking eat it and it's all going to get burnt down. And then she says,
Yeah, go ahead.
She and Janie were good friends, even if Janie's status was that of a slave at the moment. Anthony's will had freed her. Okay, so Anthony is dead. That's the husband. So,
yes.
Right? Yeah, so he's Anthony Miller, husband, dead.
Soup's dead, which is really convenient for our story. All right.
Yes, yeah. And it was an important thing for us both to remember, and we did.
That's right. And
we
did.
Knew he was
did.
He was gonna die. We knew he was gonna die. Otherwise, how is she gonna ever fucking marry Jesse? Okay,
marry their genitals forever. I think is really the correct way to put it.
It's gross because I imagine them just stuck together at the genitals for ever. All right, Anthony's will had freed her.
Swamp dick.
All right, Anthony's will had freed her. But all kinds of paperwork still had to be done to make her freedom a fact. It didn't matter. It didn't matter. Janie would never leave her, not when they needed each other so very badly. But for the moment, Kiernan raised her voice just slightly and used the tone she had learned all the long years back home. Janie, I said go in. Okay, let's break this down a little bit. They're good friends.
They're pals.
They're pals. Except for that Kiernan owns Janie. Janie has been
freed. not even rightfully so. You know what I mean?
She has inherited Janie in her husband's will.
And then
Janie was freed.
Yeah. Freed. Except she hasn't gone to her lawyer's office.
Yeah.
Go to your lawyer's office, dude. This is priority 1.
Do the paperwork.
She's your friend.
She literally says it doesn't matter that I haven't done the paperwork. I bet it matters to fucking Janie.
Probs, especially since you could maybe talk to her about staying on if you paid her, I don't know, a living wage. Yeah. Maybe you'd be able, even though the paperwork isn't done, why don't you pay her right now? So that she's just
Then Janie.
Janie.
Kiernan's BFF, they're so close. After Kiernan's go make us dinner, even though we're not gonna eat it, even though she did that just now and raised her voice. This is what her best friend's response is. Dear Lord, give me strength. These old bones are too old to be trotting up to a snow-covered northern city to take care of a fool mistress in some jail.
Yeah.
BFFs. Yep, that is what your best friend says.
Yep.
These old bones are too old to do the thing you've ordered me to do. You're a fool and I hate you.
Yep.
Okay.
So she's like, quit hollering down the rain, Janie. We've got visitors. And
Janie's back in the kitchen. She's burning the biscuits. She hates everything.
So she gets saved all of a sudden. She sees this figure riding up his ass is on fire. And he's like, stop the fire! Put down your matches! And looks pretty familiar. But also, it couldn't be him. It couldn't be.
Hey, Kiernan, it's always him. If there's anything I've learned from this book, if there is a knock on the door, if there is a rustling behind you, if there is a dark shadow behind a schmurschmer, it's him. It's always him. Fucking Jesse. He went, quote unquote, off to war, but he's really just following you around.
Yep. And my note is, why, it's Jesse Cameron, the boy in blue himself.
Let's read all Southern books from here on out. Okay.
So he wants to save the house.
There's so many fucking name drops. One of these is, she needed to be rescued. She needed the whole Southern cavalry under Jeb Stuart to come riding in. Just save the cavalry. Why? Yeah. It's so many of those, you guys. If there was a general in the Civil War, it is casually mentioned in this book. Anyway.
So he's like, we're not doing this. I'm going to set this up as like a makeshift hospital and my headquarters. I cleared it with our general, probably Ulysses S. Grant, but nobody talks about the Northerners like that.
No Northern general.
And so he goes up to the thing and she's like,
a
I will
doctor.
not. Yes.
He's a doctor, Captain Union Army man.
Yeah.
And he wants it to be, you said it need to be a hospital headquarters, but just, he is the one running the hospital because he is a doctor.
That's right.
It's a noble profession. He's a noble person.
And so she's like, snap my garters. I will not have you save this house for me.
This has to be done. We are 19 minutes in and I'm so fatigued. Fatigued by this.
By
Snap
what?
my garters?
That's
How
right.
many more do you have on your list? Be honest. How many more?
Do you want to see the pages?
Yes. Pages.
There's 3 pages of them.
Oh my God. You printed 3 pages of this and you only read 30% of this book?
I'm not fucking around.
Jesus.
It's the only thing that could get me through BFF Slaves.
We just got off recording with Smart Bitch Trashy Books because Sarah Wendell interviewed us. And she was like, what have you read lately? And Melody was like, here are the 5 books I've read this week. I read Brazen and the Beast. I read Schmershmer. I read Flurber. And I was like, you didn't read the book we're reading? I mean, I never read the book we're reading, but I at least don't read extras.
One of us has to.
Yeah, I mean, I don't. It's not like I get done with them, but I don't read 5 extra books and then print some cheeky Southern historical things. Okay,
anyway, so she's like, I'm not going to let you save this house. I would rather it burn than you walk into this house.
Which is ridiculous because,
it's not even her house.
It's, A, not her house. Not her house.
Yeah.
B, her whole thing was like, I will protect the house. I'm going to stall them so the house, at least they're going to burn it, but at least I'm going to give them a hard time. It's like, don't let them burn the house. You've got fucking kids to take care of. There's kids in there and a slave that are going to have nowhere to live and no possessions if this thing burns. She's so fucking selfish. I can't even. She cannot get over her bullshit with Jesse long enough to just be like, thank you. I really appreciate this.
I still hate you. I can still hate you, though. That's fine.
She hates the North enough that she can't even deal with, the wounded being taken care of in her house. Which is if the enemy is going to use your house for anything, that's, the most noblest one, right?
Yeah.
It's not like they're planning their strategery out of there.
Nope. They're not. Anyway, so she's like, I'm not going to let you save the house. And he's like, well, knock me down and steal my teeth, woman. You accept my help.
Nope. Knock me down and steal my teeth.
Yeah.
Knock me down and steal my teeth.
So he's like, I'm going to save it. You can leave. Go back to your own house. It's fine. And she's like, well, you know what? I'm not even going to do that. I'm going to stay and the Confederacy will come and save us. And I can't wait to watch them jerk a knot in your tail. And he...
All right, let's meet Jesse Cameron here. Because although I dislike Kiernan, I do like Jesse Cameron.
Oh my God.
Did you like him?
My note is Kiernan and Jesse, parentheses, man of dreams.
Yeah, I would be on a desert island with Jesse. Okay.
Uh-huh.
A Yank had come, but not just any Yank. Jesse Cameron, the one Yank she had known most of her life. The Yank she despised the most. She hates Yankees, you guys. This is the one she despises the most. Yeah. The one she had loved once upon a time. The one who now sent her heart and mind into a tumult.
Oh, yeah.
It had been a long time since she had seen him, a long time since she had thrown her heart at his feet, since he had ignored her every plea. I guess that happens in the next part because it seems like she ignores his every plea for most of part 1.
They both ignore each other's pleas of changing their minds. She begs him to not be a Yankee, and he's I beg you to marry me, or whatever.
Yeah, spoiler alert. Okay, since he had ridden north, wearing blue again. She's already mentioned it 4 times. Okay, he hadn't changed, or maybe he had. His eyes were every bit as hard as ever, but they seemed to hold an even greater wisdom, a weariness, a certain ruthlessness. Tiny new lines were etched around them. If anything, his jaw was more firmly set. He was clean-shaven, bearing the sharp planes and angles of his face. It was a rugged face, but handsome still, for its hard lines were tempered by the dark arches of his brow and the startling color of his eyes. They're blue, guys, spoiler. It was
Super
given
blue.
sensuality by the fullness of his mouth, a mouth that was grim and taut now as he stared at her. Hello, Kiernan. You guys,
And
he has like one of
my
those
note-
soft voices where he's like just very like direct and like soft and
But he can
rumbly.
silence a whole room.
Oh yeah.
No,
Yeah.
without trying.
With his like cobalt eyes.
So that was the beautiful flowery language that the book gave us. My note is, inside she's thinking, ooh, he looks good with his ebony hair and deep blue eyes, and I'm going to be on him like a duck on a June bug.
Stop it. Okay, so they go back and forth. Their back and forths are like so exhausting to me. Like I would put down the book several times in the middle of them bickering back and forth because I could never figure out why they were even like, why? Just stop it. She's so frustrating.
She's insufferable. Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, I'm trying to save you. And she's like, I don't want a Yankee. And I certainly don't want a Yankee turncoat living in this house. And it's like, I just. So eventually she gives in because of course she does. Because her stance on this is stupid.
And that's the end of the prologue. So we're in chapter 1. This is now at least 2 years before. This is 1859 in Harper's Ferry, Virginia. It's October of 1859. You history HBs.
Yeah.
And she's staying at a friend Lacey's house because she doesn't live in Harper's Ferry. She's just conveniently there to meet the most reviled abolitionist and a metric fuck ton of Southern generals. So
she like, but I'm sorry, I'm still in the prologue. I'm flipping through. I'm getting there. She threatens him with Stonewall Jackson. She's like, Stonewall Jackson will be here soon. Like, do you guys do you think that everybody in the South knew all the names of the generals?
I think at one point he actually refers to him as Andy Jackson or something like that because he was like with all these folks at West Point or whatever.
Yeah. I don't know. I feel like the regular person doesn't know all the names of all the generals. I feel like we know all the names of all the generals now because it's history.
Yeah.
But I think I don't know. This is me talking and I will be corrected, I'm sure. But it struck me as weird that they were like, Jeb Stuart will be along shortly all the time.
Well, I do wonder if she might know just because the author does make it a point to point out that A, she's from a landed, very influential, very wealthy family. B, she has a lot of military connections because of like the people that she knows, including Jesse. And then C, she's also very known for being particularly politically oriented. So whereas all the rest of the ladies would be like talking about their stays and the latest Paris fashion or something, she's like, what's going on with the secession, everybody? Are we doing that? I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah.
So she's staying at a friend's house and her dad, like all the men of their, like her dad, her almost fiance, a bunch of other people are out of town scoping out a new spot of land for another munitions factory that her later on husband like will own or whatever. So her friend is scared because it's the middle of the night and she heard like a shot and there's been like movement outside, but they can't really tell. And so she's being like, Lacey, you're a nutter butter. You're a bit of a crazy doodle. It's okay.
And Lacey, it's important to note, is an abolitionist who...
She's not an abolitionist. She
hates slavery.
Against slavery, but she's like a Southerner who doesn't own slaves, but she won't like... She's too polite to like say anything to other people.
Okay. That's fine.
Isn't an abolitionist like somebody who takes action on it?
I guess I just felt like that was somebody who was against slavery, but I don't know. What my point here is, Lacey is exactly what Melody just articulated. Why couldn't our heroine have been exactly what Melody just articulated?
I know. Like, I would have been so into this book.
Because, like, she's just, like, very confused by, like, slavery might be bad, but no, it's fine. Like,
but not the way that we do it.
Exactly.
She's so mad about that book, Uncle Tom's Cabin by Harriet Beecher Stowe. She's like, not all slave owners. I mean, some are kind of mean, but like not all of us.
Well, it seemed like it like rocked her world, Uncle Tom's Cabin. Like she read it with rage and like her beliefs were challenged by it and she's trying to like wrestle with her confirmation bias, it seems like, throughout the book. Which
seemed pretty realistic, honestly.
It's very realistic. Yeah,
but I just wasn't here for it.
Millions of women like existed like this. It's just that in combination with every stupid stance she took on every little thing, I just couldn't deal with. We'll get to it.
Totally.
After the prologue, I'm like, maybe she'll be okay. But
I don't know how you got there. Anyway, so they're like getting their sherry so that they can have like a little scared party in her room together. And then 2 ruffians come in, and the ruffians are there to take Kiernan, and they're going to kidnap her up. And so they tell her that they're not going to do her any harm as long as she comes with them. And she's like, don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining. And so that's not even that Southern.
That's a Judge Judy. So don't even. That's what her autobiography was called. Don't piss on my leg and tell me it's raining.
No, really?
Yes. Yeah. By Judge Judy.
Southern? Is she not?
I have no clue. She doesn't have a Southern accent.
No, she doesn't. She has a Southern attitude, though. You know?
Yes.
She takes shit.
While I've already interrupted you, can I just read this paragraph of when she's talking to Lacey? She's having like a little flashback of her arguing with Andrew. It doesn't really matter, but this is Kiernan, our heroine. South Carolina is the one screaming states rights the loudest, Andrew. He had started at the dinner table. Why, the majority of our founding fathers were Virginians. Washington, Jefferson, Madison, Monroe, Virginians. Patrick Henry, Virginian. Why, Virginia is the very heart of the soul of this country. It's like, we know you can name president. Okay, I'll be done now. But it's so many names all the time.
No, I know. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely.
All right, okay, I'm done.
So she distracts them and then runs out the back, and she starts climbing up this like cliff. Meanwhile, she is in her nightdress, you guys. She is in her nightdress in AmericaTimes. So she's climbing and she's climbing, and the guy is like right behind her. And then all of a sudden, from the back of her, she hears, Kiernan, keep going, Kiernan. And she's like, doesn't that just beat all you ever stepped in? I think I know that voice, but she's climbing. She's climbing.
I hate you.
You're so mad at
guess who it is.
Yeah, it's Jessie.
It's Jessie.
She almost gets got by the kidnapper, but then the kidnapper gets got by Jessie. And then as she's about to like fall off this cliff of some sort, he abandons his kidnapper napping pursuit, and then he rolls over to her and breaks her fall, and then they roll down this cliff. Honestly, I was a little bit confused about the terrain, but it's okay.
I didn't really understand what happened. What I know is that this guy was going to take her as a hostage because her dad was a slave owner, and because John Brown was taking on the slave owners to be hostages at Harper's Ferry. And then something happened, and then Jessie is on top of her.
No, she's on top of Jessie.
She's on top of Jessie. And then that guy is gone. I don't know if he's deaders or he like ran off. It doesn't matter.
He runs off.
What matters is they are on top of each other.
Oh boy.
And then
she's on top of him. And then
a little bit about like the history of their history, like growing up and stuff. Isn't this now? She's kind of like flashing
it's now-ish.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And she talks about how like at one point she got this little kid slave in trouble.
Oof. Here's what happened is she went up to a little girl the same age as her who was a slave and was like, I want to go to the swimming pool or hole, I guess. Lake. Yeah. I want to go to lake. And this girl was like, that's a bad idea. I'm a slave. That's I don't really want to go with you. I'll be severely punished. And little Kiernan was like, I don't understand. I'm ignorant. You should come with me. And like basically made this girl come with her. And
ordered this girl to come with her.
This girl really couldn't say no because she was a slave.
Right.
And then she was severely punished, and she almost got beat to death by her owner. And then little Kiernan saw a grown-up Jessie Cameron and was like, you need to do something about this. And Jessie's like, you should probably go back in time and try to do something about this. This is your fucking fault. He didn't say that, but I did.
No, and but he did, basically. He was like, you can't do shit like that.
Yeah, don't do shit like that, Kiernan.
Ugh.
And so then Kiernan hid in a bush and watched Jessie Cameron buy that girl from her master so that she wouldn't
very
die.
Heroically stopped him. He like took this switch or whatever was in his hand out of his hand. The cane. God, I think it was a cane. Oh no.
I think it was a cane.
And then he bought the little girl, and I think later on he went back and bought all of her family too. So that, I don't know, it's supposed to be like not all slave owners. Guys, I don't know.
Yeah.
Okay.
Here, I'm just going to read a passage so that you know what it was.
Yeah.
A woman named Harriet Beecher Stowe had written a book called Uncle Tom's Cabin, and in it she had created the cruelest human being who could ever be imagined to own and persecute slaves. But it wasn't always like that! Exclamation point. Kiernan wanted to shout to the newspapers. Most of the slave owners she knew were good people, determined to enforce good conditions for their slaves, seeing to it that they were receiving proper religious training. That's part of it, Kiernan. There were some cruel men, she had to admit, but none she knew were as bad as Simon Legree, which is the guy in Uncle Tom's Cabin, I guess. I can't remember from grade school.
Yeah.
Most Southerners didn't even own slaves. The problem really had to do with the economy. The South was a cotton kingdom, and slaves were necessary to work the plantations. And then, I just fast forward a little bit. Whether a master or mistress was a good person or a bad person wasn't the point in the long run, the way Kiernan saw it. The point was freedom. She couldn't begin to imagine being owned by anyone. Her father was a wonderful man, and no master could be kinder or more gentle. But he was an old-time Virginian, the son, grandson, and great-grandson of planters. Her view on slavery question was not the same as his, or that any of their neighbors or business associates. So she goes back and forth. It's like, first she's like, not all slave owners, and then she's like, really, the freedom itself is probably the problem, even if they treat you good. But also, I really believe in the Confederacy and slavery because of the economy. Like, she just cannot...
Yeah, you can't nail her down. And but all she knows is that she loves Virginia no matter what that stands for.
Right. My note was, I really hope this is an arc.
Right? I need it to be an arc. I need it. Because otherwise, woof. Okay, so she's on top of him. And she's thinking to herself, I just want to dip him in lard and feed him some cream pie.
I swear.
That's one of mine. The Southerners are going to come up. That's
if
not a thing.
anyone out there is within the sound of my voice and can finish out this podcast for Melody, I can give you her address. Send me a text. She's in New Jersey. Get there as fast as you can. I cannot. All right.
Well, I hope you realize that you've made this my new favorite game.
I hate it. I'm not pretending to hate it for the podcast. Realize. I think you can tell, like, I legitimately hate this. It's going to be a two-parter. I'm going to have to do it all again. Okay.
So he's, like, go in the house, and he comes in later. He's brooding, partially because he hasn't seen her in a while, because he's been, like, off West Pointing and off in the West, murdering Native Americans. And I don't know.
Well,
and he's also really worried because he knows that, like, trouble's afoot. He's like, John Brown is here. He's this, like, famous abolitionist who believes that the only way to, like, really get rid of all of slavery and, like, really take it out of the culture of America is, like, via blood. So he's all about violent insurrection, and that's what he's trying to foment in, like, basically wherever he goes. But at the same time, Jesse's like, I can feel that this is a larger cultural shift, and it's probably going to be, like, a big, giant problem in the next couple of years. And he's already not sure where he's going to land, but he is sure where Kiernan's going to land. So he's like, I want her. I know I want her, but I know that I can't have her. And, like, thinking about trying to be with her is impossible because I know that she's going to be Virginia through and through. And she's never going to stand for me being a Yankee.
Right. And she's pretty much already engaged to this munitions guy who's, like, a good match for her, who's, like, a Confederate through and through, who her dad has made the match. They're not engaged yet, but they're pretty much engaged. A lot of, like, cheek smooching, a lot of, like, curtsies and calling on each other, that sort of thing.
Yeah. But he doesn't make her blood boil, you guys.
No. So he knew her as a child, like, when he bought that slave girl. And then he went off and did the murders, and he went off and did all the wars and the murders. And then he came back when she had her, like, coming out ball when she was, I don't know, 16, I'm guessing.
Yeah, her debutante ball. Yeah.
Yeah. And then he saw her and saw that she
was
a woman.
She had some bosom.
So
she had that
elegant.
That low décolletage.
Yeah. And then she had promised her dance to somebody. She saw him leaning against the doorway, and he was staring at her, and it was clear that he'd been staring at her for some time. Then she had promised her next dance to somebody else, and then all of a sudden he was there. He was dancing with her. He was such a good dancer, and she was in his arms. And then he fucked off again to West Point or whatever. So this is the next time they have seen each other.
So they're like in the drawing room or whatever. Lacey has conveniently been like, I'm so afraid. Please stay for dinner or breakfast or whatever the next meal is. Pretty sure it's breakfast.
Dinner, I think, at this time. It is so difficult to figure out. Is it breakfast?
It's breakfast. Yeah, because it's the middle of the night times when they come and do their kidnappering, you know?
Oh, yeah. This is the time when she makes all the pancakes.
That's right.
Poor Lacey. She's just trying to do the right thing.
I know. In every facet of life, Lacey's just trying. And it's, ugh. So he kisses all up on her.
Uh-huh.
And it is a good smooch.
It's
a good flowery smooch.
There's all this like flirting and all this like banter back and forth.
There's a bunch of banter.
Stuff. There's like banter. There's like sexual tension, and I'm here. And it like you're talking about like politics and stuff, and I'm trying to give you the romance.
Sorry.
They're like ramping up. Like, I don't know. I lost all of it. There's a lot of banter, and it's offending Lacey. And then Lacey leaves the room to like make pancakes, and he gives her basically the smooch of her life.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, you guys. So he follows her upstairs because she is trying to get out of her dirty nightdress.
Oh, that's it.
That's what it is.
She's like undressed.
So she's like a little bit nakedsies. And she's trying to get her stays on. She's trying to get all the things on.
So she's in different like stages of undress is the issue. That's what's like offending Lacey. And like, what's his face? Jesse's in the room like watching her be undressed, and it's really offending Lacey. And I don't know why Lacey ends up leaving. You would think she would want to stay and be like, don't. But she goes down and make pancakes, and that's when the smooch happens.
Yeah.
He tells her like 3 times during this conversation that she's definitely grown up and that she has developed since the last time that he saw her when she was 16. That's a little rough. I think she's 18 now.
Yeah.
But this kiss goes on for like 3 pages, 4 pages.
Well, and then after he says, if he can't kiss you like this, Kiernan, don't marry him. What? She demanded sharply. Furious, she tried to pull away. She raised a hand to strike him. Guys, she's always trying to strike him.
She is so mad at Jesse all the time, and I can't figure out why. Eventually, I figured out that she wanted him to, like, propose to her after this kiss? Instead of like, be like... I think she thinks that by him being like, if he can't kiss you like that, don't marry him, what he's saying is, like, I just gave you an example of a good kiss, not, like, a real one. Does that make sense? Like, he didn't mean it or something? But... when I was reading it, I was like, why is she mad?
Yeah, she's so mad. And then he caught it, and his laughter, husky and rich, rang out. If he can't kiss you like that, sweetheart, don't marry him. Bastard, she charged him, struggling to be free. But he pulled her tight once again. Hold out for the best there is, Kiernan. You should have it. Make sure there's fire. Maybe there'll be ice, too, but hold out for the extremes, for the best, the brightest. Don't accept anything lukewarm, because you're fire and ice, and you're the brightest and the best, Kiernan.
The dialogue in this is all like that. It's so very Gone with the Wind. It's
is.
Very Gone with the Wind. It's like, who would ever talk like that to another human being? And like the lead up to this, like I was talking about the bantering and stuff, it's very high school. Like I finally found it, and it's like, he's talking about how she's almost engaged to Anthony, and she's like, I'm not sure that I love him. And he's like, is there someone that you do love? Never mind, don't answer that. She's like, I didn't intend to, but my feelings are none of your business. Like, there's so much of like, I love, oh, never mind. Like, there's so much of that. Oh, can I read some of this? Like, this kiss is like 3 pages. Some of it is this. His tongue wedged through the barrier of her lips and teeth and delved wickedly into the dark and secret recesses of her mouth. It seemed to enter deeper into the secret chambers of her soul and body. It's very that, you guys. The word seared, I think, appears, I don't know, 4,000 times? What would you say?
Yeah, like some of the writing is like, longings that were reckless and wild crept into her mind and heart, winding throughout her like a serpent. The serpent that brought Adam and Eve to the brink of damnation in Eden. Jesse. His lips were coercive. Yeah, it's a lot of that. Anyway.
All right.
So then he kisses her again.
Yeah, but it's like when Lacey's
she's like,
back
you don't
turned.
play fair.
Oh, yeah. He's like, no, it's you that doesn't play fair with your boobs and your face.
Well, and she goes, don't they say that all's fair in love and war? And he goes, that's what I'm afraid of, he told her huskily. He touched her again, just her hands, meeting her eyes. Love and war.
Which one are they really afraid of, you guys? Love or war?
Or war. Yeah.
All right. So then we go. Don't we clip to Jesse and he goes to the firehouse where John Brown is?
No. So Kieran the next morning, Jesse's like, you bitches need to stay in the house. It's safe in the house. Don't leave the house.
Yeah. Oh,
bitches.
Definitely stay in the house. There is an open fucking rebellion. We're in Harper's Ferry, and whatever year Harper's Ferry happened, stay in the fucking house. If your whole town is in an open rebellion and the army is fighting, stay in the house.
You want to know the moment I would have turned back?
Turned back from where?
From leaving the house.
So, like, you've left the house the moment you would have turned around and come back? Yes.
I'm being a cheeky cuss, you know? And so I'm leaving the house.
Is that on your list?
The moment I would have turned back is seeing that, like, nice neighbor that she's already spoken to and watch him, like, put nails into his shotgun.
Into his shotgun? And then isn't there a child involved?
Yes, his son. I don't know how old he is. He's probably, like, you know, AmericaTimes grown, but, like, and in my times not.
Jesse has left with her an actual gun with actual bullets in it. And then she sees that the townspeople, her neighbors, quote unquote, even though she doesn't live here, but her people, her prize Virginian Confederates, don't have ammunition, or like the ones that have guns have nothing to put in them. And the entire Yankee army is coming down to like whatever. She's just like, oh, that's interesting. And then just like keeps walking.
Cool.
It's like, you've got bullets, bitch. Like, help out.
She's like, you're doing good work with your nails and your screws. All right. Well, ta-ta. See you later.
Like, give him a bullet.
Yeah. So she goes down to like investigate the firehouse, and she sees just like buckets of yuck, you guys. Just like as much yuck as you can see a mob of humans do. She sees it.
Why? Like, why did she? She's like, I'm going to go outside and see what's going on. It just blows my mind. What does she think is going to happen?
I don't know.
They wanted
but she
to take
sees,
her
like,
hostage. Like, it just, ugh.
Yeah, she sees mutilated bodies. She sees a bunch of terrible shit. She runs into this doctor, and he's like, oh, I saw Jesse, and he told me that he told you to stay in the house. And if Jesse was here, I bet he would throw you over his shoulder like a sack of potatoes. But he's not here, is he? So you better go back to your house. And she's like, oh, I don't give a good gosh darn. So, no, I will not.
I don't care what Jesse said. Like, the thing is, the idea that the conversation she has with this doctor, she went out there to like see what's going on in the town because she's worried about the town or whatever. She's seeing mutilated bodies. There's all this stuff going on. The only thought that she has with this doctor is to talk to him about like what Jesse said, whether she was actually in trouble last night because she could have held her own. And now she knows her dad's going to find, if the doctor knows, her dad's going to find out that she got herself in trouble last night. It's like, bigger shit is going on, Kiernan.
Yeah, the mayor is in the firehouse with John Brown as a hostage.
Getting shot. And you're supposed to be one of those hostages. Go back home, or at least ask pertinent questions to the shit that you wanted to know about that's happening in the town. Blows my mind. And did you notice
the two different Confederate soldiers that are also in there? It's a Lewis Washington or a somebody and somebody else.
Lewis Washington is have you ever heard of Lewis Washington? I have not.
No, but apparently he's a Washington. He's a Washington.
Thank you, Heather Graham, for teaching us about Lewis Washington. And I hope that Heather Graham is the same Heather Graham that is the actress from Killing Me Softly. That is what I've imagined. Is it tits out Heather Graham writing this book for me? All right.
That's right. So many crocheted dresses. Tits out.
From the seam right over her head, and she's totally naked. Why haven't we done Killing Her Softly, the movie, for our Patreon yet?
I don't know what the fuck
I don't know where our priorities are. Okay.
All right. So she goes back home and she's like, I'm done around here. And in like the middle of the night, she and Lacey like hang out the rest of the day. It does not matter.
Basically, we're just passing time to have separate incidents with Jesse.
Yes.
Like, the only reason this author sends her out into the town is so that we can get some scenes from historical Harper's Ferry, the battle. And the only reason Jesse, like, the only reason they pass the time and have him show up again is so that we can have passage of time with different encounters with Jesse. It doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so he comes back.
So they throw pebbles at the window. She's awake though, because she's just awake. You guys.
Jesse and his brother.
Sleep. Yeah, Jesse and his brother are there, and so she feeds him apple pie and makes him coffee, and it is tension, and it is angst, and it is banter, and Daniel's like, so y'all gonna get on this? You know, like, am I superfluous to this interaction? Should I be here?
Yes. Does he? He doesn't say that out loud, does he? Does he?
No, but there are a couple of times where he's like, hey guys. Yeah. Right here.
Yeah.
Anyway, so then she's like, oh, are you guys going in with the Marines tomorrow to get out old John Brown? And they're like, yeah, we're going in there. She's like, well, you both need to be so careful because you're both so important to me. And except for you, Jesse, you can go hang, but except be really careful because I love you.
Yep. She doesn't say that, but she says it with her eyes.
She says it with her eyes.
She says it in her heart, but not verbally for all you Bachelor fans out there.
That's right.
So then they just fuck off, right? Nothing really happens there. They leave.
Well, yeah. So they leave, and we get a whole scene with Jesse and Daniel where Daniel's like, so you're going to get up on that, right? Like, you're going to marry her, like, now? Tomorrow? Next week?
Yeah.
Can I calligraphy the invitation
She's 18
myself
now, so you've waited long enough.
And Anthony keeps on telling her that she is, I wanted to ask you about this. Anthony keeps saying that she is several years past when many of her peers get married.
Yeah,
what
she
is
says
a
that
several
too.
to you? No, what is a several to you?
I don't know, 5.
Right?
Yeah.
Like, because a few is 3, a couple is 2, a few is 3. And then I feel like it has to be at least 5 to be several. I don't think people got married at 13 in this version of AmericaTimes, right?
I don't know. I mean, I don't know.
I thought it was at least like 16 to 18.
But I mean, by the time she's having that conversation with Anthony, isn't it? No, it's not much longer after this, is it?
It's all year 18. Yeah, that's it.
I don't know. Come at us, HBs. Let us know.
I don't know. It's Concernicus, though.
She says it, too, though. He's not the only one that says several years. She says it in her narrative.
Yeah.
Also. So it's not like it's said one time and whoops. It's like a thing that's said several times by this author. I do not know.
Yeah.
So they leave. The next day, guess what she does again?
She leaves.
She goes outside.
She gets out the house.
She goes outside.
How dare you, madam?
Why?
How dare you? Yeah.
And then she gets in trouble. Of fucking course. And there's like...
Yeah, because she could just make a preacher cuss.
She goes out. There's all these people that are like dying. One guy got like torn apart by pigs in an alley. Like, it's fucked up, you guys. And then she goes to... Don't... Remember the alley that was like splattered in blood and still smelled like blood? Maybe, but I'm just saying these things are out there. That may have been yesterday. I don't know. The pigs are still... I'm sure he's still been torn apart by pigs on day 2. And then she goes to the firehouse where John Brown is keeping the hostages. She like makes her way down to that firehouse.
You're right. So I think this chapter... the chapter starts off with him doing the raid thing.
Mm-hmm. Well, there's also, like, he goes to... Listen, we don't know what order these guys occur in.
No.
Okay? There's encounters with
care.
Jesse, and then there's encounters at the battle. Jesse, at one point, goes to the firehouse where John Brown is and everybody, and they let him in.
He wants to, like, tend the wounded and stuff.
Yeah, he's still a Confederate dude, right? And so he goes in to tend...
No, there are no Confederate dudes.
Sure, but he's like a Southern dude. He's anti-John Brown at this point. He goes into the firehouse to, like, tend the wounded. He's very captivated by him and
John
like
Brown's eyes,
his piercing
eyes. Very
eyes.
Intense. He very much believes what he spouts down to his core. That whole thing.
There are a few people in there that are definitely going to die. It seems all very noble in there. There's a farmer boy that's like, we're going to hang for treason. I thought we was just helping the slaves, and like, that's rough. Anyway, so that whole scene happens. Then at some point, she does decide to take her gun with bullets in it and make her way down to the firehouse where all the action is going on.
What a dumbass.
And then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, there's like a crowd that's like mutilating a dead body of one of John Brown's men.
They're like shooting at it. It's already dead.
Yeah. It's like no face. And so they get like, she's getting like pushed toward the body, and she's like yelling, no, stop mutilating the body. And then she gets scooped up on a horse by Jesse, who's of course.
And he takes her home.
Right there. No, he does not. He takes her to a cliff.
That's right. He takes her to a mountaintop.
He rides her out to a cliff. And then he takes her. She feels on her back his muscled chest and his heart beating. And it's so cold outside because I guess it's like fall or whatever. And she feels his warm arms around her.
That's right.
Yeah. And then he takes her off the horse and he sweeps her into his arms and he makes out with her.
Yeah, his beautiful roan, whose name is Pegasus.
Yeah, and by the way, after this, he rides west and, like, does a whole, like, Second War times situation, and, like, Pegasus lives through that. Come on now. Well, she's in Europe.
Yeah.
And then, like, Pegasus... Oh, you haven't read that far. Pegasus lives through, like, a shit ton of the Civil War, which is, like, no horses did that, so maybe he can fly. I don't know. Anyway.
So, he kisses her up.
A lot of smooching, a lot of whispering.
Real good.
Jesse.
Oh, Jesse, her tits are almost out in AmericaTimes, but they stay in now.
Yeah, they do at this point. But I
there's a lot
want
of
to say
groping.
the stakes for tits are a little bit lower in AmericaTimes than they were in England Times. I'm less scandalized if tits come out in AmericaTimes because really the world's at war, you know? Like, if you can't take your tits out a little bit, what is there?
Yeah, you gotta seize the day, you know?
Please knit that on a scarf or something for me. Okay. The world's at war if you can't take your tits out a little bit. All right.
So then he takes her back homesies, and then I think like the next day he's going to get the guys out or whatever. So he goes, and we go through the whole scene where he's like, you know, they're trying to negotiate with John Brown, and then they go in and they get him out, and then he's tending the wounded, and then there's a whole other thing of like corpse mutilation that happens by the quote unquote good guys.
In a barrel. It's really gross.
I'm not super into it, and he's also not super into it because he all of a sudden feels so angry that he's in the midst of a tempest, and it is a personal tempest.
They're always in a tempest. They're creating a tempest for each other. They are feeling a tempest. A tempest is afoot. I do not know what a tempest
is.
A tempest. But it is all around all the time, the tempest.
And it is angsty. Yeah, yes. It is serious business. So he goes and he's like, I shouldn't be anywhere near Kiernan. And yet here I am riding toward her house. And so then he goes in and he like grabs her up and she's like, Jesse, I couldn't possibly go anywhere with you. And he's like, I need you to come with me. She's like, oh, of course I will.
Okay.
So he puts her up on his horse and he stops in the middle of the yard and he's like, I don't know where to go. And she's like, go toward the river or whatever. I will show you. She takes him to her bae's house.
Boom, bong. She takes him to Anthony Miller, her betrothed-ish.
Sort of betrothed-ish.
His house.
How dare she?
The last time she was
there,
there,
shack,
Anthony
but it's on
taught
his
her how to fit. It's not a fishing shack if it has a chimney and a bed in it.
I agree with you.
And she says every year they rebuild this thing. Build it further back from the river, idiots. Anyway.
Well, they don't have to rebuild it, do they, Aaron?
Oh. Melody has made the deepest frown. The deepest frown she's ever frowned. I didn't think about it. It's also.
Yeah, they're not doing it. Oh, so
anyway, so he whisks her into this cabin. I don't know why she got like such a lead on him. I guess he was tying up the horse.
Well, and he was a tempesting outside. He was having a brood and a tempest.
He was doing a
brood.
Okay.
Yeah. So she goes inside and she's like, oh, I bet he needs alcohol. And she goes to steal Anthony's liquor.
I swear to God, she's gonna do this guy in her bae's bed. I just could not get over. The whole time they were sexing. I'm sorry, spoiler alert, they're about to have sex. The whole time they were doing it, I was just like, this is Anthony's house. How dare you? They could have done it outside.
Oh, yeah. There's nobody around.
Like, they did it in, like, a dirty bed anyway. He puts down his cloak so that they are not on the dusty, gross, dirty bed where the dust is collected.
You know what, Aaron?
What?
Here's what I have to say about this. It makes about as much sense as a tit on a bull. So... That's about as how much sense it makes.
You know what? You waited so long between the last one and this one that it took me by surprise, and I did like it. But so he So she's getting the alcohol, and then he comes in and darkens the door. And I can't find the passage right now, but it is so,
oh my God,
like, descriptive of how he looks in that door.
Oh, wait,
of like,
I'm going to find it.
There's like the storm, but like the sun is setting behind him, all like orangey and red and angry, and like the stream is rushing, the rushing rapids, and like she realizes he doesn't need a drink, he needs her. And so,
wait, no,
you've got it.
Okay, ready? Jesse stood in the doorway. The dying orange glow of the afternoon framed him with his low-brimmed plumed hat, and his shoulder skirted navy
she loves
cape.
that feather in his hat. She talks about it all the time.
Does she ever?
Yeah, she mentions that more than she mentions Jeb Stewart, which is something.
In the coming twilight, with the hectic rush of the water tearing over the rapids behind him, she felt his recklessness, his energy, his tempest, more certainly than she had ever felt it before. She stopped reaching for the glasses and rubbed her palms over her skirt, watching him, sensing the passion and heat and need within him. Her mouth was dry, her heart pounded, her blood seemed to race through her system as swiftly and wildly as the water rushed over and around the ancient rocks. Jessie didn't want a drink, she realized. Jessie wanted her.
It's so like that. The next, 20 pages are this sex scene. It is so descriptive. And some of it...
And yet not at all descriptive.
Yeah. Some of it worked very well for me. Some of it soundly did not. There's a lot of mounds and a lot of creamy skin. But
a lot of hot corded tension.
Yeah, hot corded tension. A lot of tempest. A lot of searing.
Oh my gosh, you guys. There's unyielding strength of that which lay within his loins.
I mean, if you like old school sort of stuff, like if you like Gone with the Wind, if you like old school romance, like I don't even know what year this was published. Do you?
I don't know, but it is.
It sounds old school without being like rapey and bad. I mean, it is slavey and bad, but it's not like on the page. But like nothing about it is and it isn't. Nothing about their relationship is going to irk you out, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
Completely. There's a lot of like wrist grabbing and chin grabbing and but every moment of it worked for me.
If you like all of that, if you like being whisked up on horses and all that like cinematic stuff, you're gonna like this.
Yeah.
May I read this?
Yeah.
His shoulders were broad and bronzed in the light. His chest dusted with a heavy spattering of dark hair. Heavy.
Nope.
He was well muscled, but whipcord lean, so taut in the belly, lean in the hips, ... Tell me what this next line means.
Yep.
David's listening, which is really creeping me out. Tell me what this line means. And passionate within the dark nest of his loins. Is that pubes?
Mm-hmm.
Is that what she means? Oh,
it's definitely
so
pubes.
Gross. It's so gross.
He's nodding in the background. Yep, David agrees. It's pubes.
The dark nest of his loins. All right.
Yeah.
And then the other one I want to touch on is her orgasm being very similar to Sookie Stackhouse's. Did you notice
there are like it rains twilight down on her and stuff.
Maybe
honestly, wait. Can I real quick? My note on here is she orgasms through a Snapchat filter in AmericaTimes.
It's really funny.
Like it really does.
Okay, so I'm wondering if this orgasm is only something that you can have if the South
if you're a virgin
deep in your heart. And you are a virgin. If you are just an unassuming Southern girl who's just a waitress.
Yes, right. If the South is deep in your heart and deep in your canal, then that's the only way.
Or maybe it's Civil War Confederates that caused this type of orgasm, since Bill Compton did fight for the Confederacy.
Oh my God, he was a gray coat.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
So maybe, well, I guess this one wore blue, but maybe you have to fight. Maybe this is a Civil War orgasm that happens. Anyway,
I think so.
All right, here we go. Kiernan.
I'll tell you, there's not a splooge flag. That's for darn sure.
No, we feel it.
No, yeah.
Shattering light burst all around her. The rays fell from the sun. 1,000 stars seemed to burst and shimmer down upon her all in one. She could not move, for the stars disappeared and the world went briefly black. She blacked out, you guys.
She blacked out.
And when she could see again, the stars were still cascading down upon her. Warmth radiated through her body and to her limbs. Yeah, that seems right. Sweet nectar filled with warmth Her body was racked with shudders. And then she felt Jesse. He went deadly taut above her. He's catatonic. His muscles bunching and constricting. And he moved against her once again, thrusting so very deeply. Sweet warmth burst from within him, showering into her. To her amazement, it brought a new flow of ripples within her own body, tantalizing, wonderful little aftershocks of splendor. What an orgasm.
Aaron, he has mastered by her mates come.
No, because he causes a second orgasm.
He causes a second orgasm. I'm just saying, he's got that alien lineage.
HBs, if you have experienced a Southern lady Confederate orgasm, please let us know.
Oh my God, please.
And then after
also,
this,
he goes down on her with his mouth parts a little bit before that.
Yeah,
I just want that noted for the record.
They do all the. It's a long sex scene, and then afterwards, he kind of hints that he's like kind of sympathetic toward John Brown,
but
or like
not
really.
I would not have gotten that from this conversation.
Well, I'm wondering if we're just not like historically good at stuff, because like I feel like
ain't that the truth?
Well, yeah, but I feel like he never outright says I'm sympathetic toward X, or hey guys, maybe they have a point, or some. He never says anything like that. He always just like kind of vaguely is like, and then
he's like, you can't split a union. Yeah, and she's like, hold on a second.
Yeah,
Virginia first, or whatever.
Yeah, he's like, we're all one country. What?
Before we get to that, I do have to say one of the cutest back and forths that ever happened in this book.
Okay.
He's like, I saw you reaching for the liquor when we came in. Do you need a drink now? Yes, she said. No, I mean, I don't need a drink. I really shouldn't be drinking whiskey. Ladies don't, ... She paused and her voice trailed away. And then she looked up at Jesse. Oh, Jesse, ladies don't ever do what I did here today, do they? Ever. And then after a little while, he looks at her and he goes, only the very greatest ladies could love so deeply and so well. Oh, swoon. Okay, we are done with the sexin', and now, you guys, it is time to segue directly into the fighty times.
The fight.
Because here's the thing. It's a very particular pattern in this book. It goes sexin',
yeah, I was going to say.
And then post-coital fighty times.
And sometimes a real bonus is when there's fighting, and then sexin', and then more fighting.
And then more fattin'.
And then sometimes there's fighting, and then it's like, you might get some sexin', and then it's like, no, back to the fighting.
We gotta do more fighting. I wasn't done.
It's not even like the fight is ever different.
No, it's the same
fight.
Here
is the fight. Kiernan has sex with Jesse, and then she's like, but wait, I can't love a Yank. He's gonna not be a Confederate anymore. And then she just starts beating on his chest. Right. Or she gets up and she starts doing her laces of her whatever.
And she does it so mad.
And she's like, I'm getting out of here.
Yeah, that's right.
And he's like, what? And he always says something to the effect of, a house divided cannot stand, Kiernan.
That's right. You cannot tear a union asunder.
She's like, and she'll be like, I'm a Confederate, I'm a Virginian. And he'll be like, I just can't. And she'll be like, I can't either.
And then she'll be like,
every fight,
you're a Virginian.
You're a Virginian. Daniel's your brother. You must fight for the Confederacy. I just... And this refrain of like Jesse being like, Kiernan, I love you. And Kiernan being like,
I hate
not
you.
Enough. Oh, yeah, I hate you.
Because
and
you
also,
don't love me enough.
Yeah, not enough.
That's right. Oh.
I don't know if there's anyone in the world out there that I would love enough to like set aside all of my values and like beliefs. Like, it's just like, come on, Kiernan.
And then usually amidst all of this, he's like, Kiernan, when are you going to marry me? And she's like, I'm never going to marry a Yank.
And this all usually takes place while he's like hugging her tight and she's like always beating and kicking on him.
Yeah. He's always pulling her close to him and he's always kissing on her mouth really hard. Kiernan, I'm going to show you how much I love you. And she's like, it's still not enough. You're a Yankee. Like, literally, this fight happens at least 13 times in this book.
Fair.
It's got to be so many.
And the thing that bothers me at this point is I feel like he hasn't really even said anything that fully articulates that he is going to join that side if a war comes. Like, we don't even know
we're not even
that
there.
A war is going to happen. He has just kind of been like, guys, I don't think it's a good idea to secede from the Union. Like,
Right.
doesn't anyone else think this might be a bad idea, that the country shouldn't break apart? Maybe we should settle this another way. That is the level of Confederate that Kiernan is, that she can't.
She can't even do the mind palace exploration of it. She's just like, will not, cannot, I bleed for the Confederacy and our cotton and tobacco sisters. Or what
but
the fuck
she forgets all about it when his dick is in her.
I mean,
say that.
That's
all
true.
Right.
It just makes me so mad. Okay, anyway.
This is one of those, you guys, this is one of those books where you've got like a reasonable, quiet man who's like noble and good and just a hysterical woman.
Kind of.
Mostly. And like a hysterical, mean woman. It's like Gone with the Wind. It's like The Notebook, where you just got like a wholly unlovable woman that is just like mind-blowingly awful in every way. Mm-hmm. And somehow this handsome, humble, noble, good man is just like willing to put up with all of her bullshit.
Yeah, and this hero is very Rhett Butler, including the ways that he like pulls her up against him.
Oh,
and,
yeah.
Kisses her hard or whatever in a very Clark Gable fashion.
Yes.
But, but then you also have to layer in, I'm sorry, I have to say it again, that both of these people are slave owners. I'm never going to let us forget it. She is completely unlovable, and she is completely irrational and all of that. And she also owns other people. So.
Yeah, and I just want to say this.
And so does he.
The reason why.
Go ahead.
Yeah, and he's a slave owner as well. We'll hear a little bit later about how she like dreams of her life at Cameron Hall, where he lives, and like throwing all the parties and everything on the backs of all of their, owned workforce there.
Right.
He owns a bunch of people at Cameron Hall. I don't hate Kiernan or the other one, Jessie, just because she's like a through and through Confederate and a slave owner and like a hypocrite about the slave situation, thinks one of those slaves is her friend,
sure.
That is not necessarily the reason I hate Kiernan. It's definitely a factor, but she's like independently awful.
She's
absolutely also terrible. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want the listeners out there to be like, oh, we just canceled this book simply because it's about Confederates. We're just like, fuck this book. It's a Confederate one. It's not just that. She's terrible.
No, it is not just that, but I feel like it's important for me to keep saying out loud because this book is so incredibly whitewashed, and it creates this myth of the antebellum South that just didn't fucking exist, and it makes me so angry down to my core.
Not saying that.
No, but I cannot stop saying it because the book tries to erase it in a way that is egregious and not okay. So
wait until we get to the Miller plantation and we get to meet all the help there. It's incredible. I am not saying what Melody just said. I am just saying that is not all. That is a factor of why we hate these people and this book. But like, also, she's just very annoying.
She's a horrible person. She makes no sense. It doesn't make any sense. Okay. So then I think we can skip to when they burst in, right? She's like, oh, I'm never going to see Jessie again because I'm 18 and this is basically a historical new adult novel. And
not for Jessie. He's like 40.
Jessie is 32, 30. Yeah. He's older than her. He's older than her by 10 years. No wonder
she's so immature when she's around him because she's much younger.
Yeah. Oh, I'm just going through my notes and it looks like he told her that he loved her, but she didn't say it back even though she knows she feels it. Burp, burp. Mm-hmm. There's a whole lot of, I wish he loved Virginia, as we said, because one thing that this book is really good at is 400 pages of redundancy. We know that he wore blue. We know that she loves Virginia, and I don't need you to tell me 25 times in every chapter. Okay.
So she gets home after this tryst, and guess who's at her house? But Anthony Miller, the guy that she's almost engaged to, whose house she just fucked in while he wasn't there, BT dubs, who's in love with her. And like, since the Harper's Ferry thing happened, her dad's there too. So Anthony like pulls her in close and is like, not in a Rhett Butler way.
No, in a very chaste way.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And like gives her a very limp smooch and is like, Kiernan, I loves you. And I'm so glad that you survived the Harper's Ferry incident. Mm-hmm. And then Jessie comes in at some point, and then somehow it comes out that she like got kidnapped or whatever, and Jessie rescues her. rescued her. I think Lacey brings it up. And then it's the best line in the book where Anthony turns to Kiernan and is like, well, I hope that you thanked him properly.
Uh-huh.
And then, where is it? John, Jesse murmured. His eyes were on Kiernan again, and she didn't much like either the amusement or the hint of danger within them. I assure you, Kiernan displayed a gratitude unequal to any I've ever known.
With her pussy, you guys, with her pussy.
And then it's her narrative. She's like, damn him. Her cheeks were flaming, but she was determined to fight fire with fire. She smiled sweetly for her father. Indeed, father, I thanked him fully. After all, Jesse was such an incredible gentleman.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like, takes two to tango, Kiernan. Like,
that's right.
If you're going to be like, he's not a gentleman, like, you're a slut too. So, like, let's tone it down a little bit.
You hopped right up on there, you know?
Yeah, you did.
Okay.
Oh, man.
Then, like, let's fast forward because a metric fuck ton of things happen. And John Brown's...
history. Like, this is mostly a history book.
Yes. This is a history book with, like, very flowery fucking intermixed. So, John Brown's trial happens. John Brown, the militant abolitionist.
Right. And peppered in is, like, Anthony's, like, begging Kiernan to marry him. He's like, you know, there might be a war. And she's just kind of putting him off. He's like, "There's only you're the only woman I want."
Yeah,
and we're not getting any younger, and all this stuff.
I'm not sure that I love you. And he goes, "But I love you enough for both of us, Kiernan. Nothing you can say will dissuade me."
That's not a thing, Anthony.
Yeah, right. Like, Anthony, darling, stop being a quote unquote nice guy.
Yeah,
you drove her carriage one time. She does not owe you marriage. Okay.
Yeah. And kind of during this whole thing, like, they're attending the trial together, and then, I don't know if it's a dinner or something, but they all get together, including Jesse, for a dinner.
Yeah, all week, because Jesse's there
every
for the
night.
trial, too. And so all week she's sitting down with him at dinner, but not able to say anything because there's, like, 25 other people around, or however many. Until one night, she's like, I am determined to get down there early and get Jesse by himself. And... So she goes down early, and she's really upset because there's already dudes in there. And then she's like, and then they get a note that Jesse is delayed for some reason. And so she's like, oh, I think I feel a draft. I must go get a shawl. And then they let her go or whatever. And so she grabs a shawl and goes outside because she wants to grab him in between the stable and the hotel they're staying at.
Uh-huh.
So then she meets him outside, and it is this whole thing. She throws herself into his arms, and they kiss, and he says that she should tell Anthony that she's marrying him, and she's like, I'm not going to marry you until you see things my way. And he's like...
He says, your way?
Yeah. He goes, Kiernan, I love you. I am the man for you. Oh, this is going to be long, so get ready. I am the man for you, the only one to know you and to love you. But you don't rule me. Do you understand? I'd give you everything that I can give you, but there are certain things that I cannot give. When you're ready to accept me for what I am, for what I believe, come to me. He smiled at her then, a smile that was bittersweet, anguished, and crooked, with a wry humor that mocked himself as well as her. If you're lucky, I'll be waiting. Oh, she cried.
Oh, she cried.
But he was holding her too tightly against him for her to injure him. You bastard! I know, he agreed. He kissed her again. Her
hard.
Oh, but it says her hard.
Kissed her again hard with passion and insinuation.
That's the kind. He kissed her so long and so completely that she felt she'd been ravished there on the streets. He kissed her until she had no breath, until her limbs were powerless, until hot fires of desire raced ruthlessly through her. Then he set her down. Until then, little girl. Sorry, that was me retching. I'm fine. He demanded harshly, torment me no longer. You guys. That's
just how the whole thing is. It's so very... It's at an 11 all the time. It is turned up to an 11 at all times. The sex, the fighting, the history, the Jeb Stewart references are at an 11.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, she's like, tell my father that I'm ill. And this is my favorite line in the book. So buckle up for this. I'll let you know when we get there. Okay, he goes, no, he'd never believe you were suddenly ill. You simply aren't the time for vapors, Kiernan. Or aren't the type for vapors.
Oh, God. Bullshit.
And then this is the best line. She goes, fine, she snapped. We'll dine.
God.
Fine, we'll dine is my favorite thing.
We get to watch the entire trial of John Brown, basically. Like, every day. We get to know who fucking testifies, what he looks like in his cot, his piercing eyes, how he sits up one time. Like, I swear to God, we, like, the whole fucking trial. And then at one point, Anthony and Jesse have a discussion about John Brown and, like, whether he'll hang. And Jesse says something like, you know, it sucks, but he will. And Anthony's like, the fuck? You know, like, he's an abolitionist. And Jesse's like, no, you know, Anthony says, you know, you're not one of those people that think that, like, John Brown is right, do you? And
those
Jesse's like,
people
well, I think
that think black people are people and that we shouldn't own them and have the right to beat them and rape them and make them work for us for no monies and, like, just enough food to keep them alive. You're not one of those people, are you?
Yeah. And Jesse's like, he's like, sorry, I can't. I just...
Fucking Anthony.
Slavery is wrong. Yeah. So
I'm glad you died in the first battle. Fucking Anthony. Spoiler alert,
I hate
everybody.
Anthony too. I hate his grand gesture. I hate everything about Anthony.
Anthony sucks.
So anyway, but Jesse, the way that Anthony phrases the question is, you're not one of those people who don't think that John Brown should hang, are you?
Right.
And Jesse has to answer, by any law of the land, he should hang.
Sure. Yeah. He held people hostage. Totally.
He has to hang.
Yeah.
And he's like, oh, okay, good.
Yeah,
because
har.
I was pretty sure.
Also,
and
this
then
is
they
where
hang
we get
him.
the John Wilkes Booth cameo.
Oh my God.
He's like, did you see
Jesus.
that actor over there?
Oh God.
He's mighty
there's
good
an actor over
actor.
there, pretty good.
I think
I've
his
seen
name
him
is
on the stage. What's his name?
Oh, I think
Books,
it's John
Boots, Boofs, Blurfs, Schmurgers. I swear. I can't. It's the worst.
Okay. Oh, and then she goes to London for a year because the author couldn't figure out what to do in the ensuing, like, tension or whatever.
This author has so many problems with the passage of time. Like, she kills time, like, terribly. It's just like, and then they... 8. And then it's like, and then you're back in having the same fight in the same sex, I swear. Anyway, yeah, she goes to London to put off Anthony. Yeah. She says she needs to study for a year.
Crosses the Atlantic to get away from Anthony and his nice guy proposals. Jesus.
But, wait, I just want to, okay,
What's
listen.
up? Don't hashtag justice for Anthony me.
I'm not going to justice for
you
Anthony.
Are. I can see you. You've got that side-eye look in your eyes.
Listen, it's not hashtag justice for Anthony, but it is hashtag blame for Kiernan a little bit.
Okay, yeah, sure.
Because Kiernan does never tell him no.
Yeah.
She's like, I'm not sure if I love you yet. Oh, maybe when I get back from England. And I really do think that if Kiernan said, no, Anthony, I don't want to marry you and I'm never going to want to marry you, he would be like, okay, I get it. I'm very sad, but I'll walk away. I really do think so. And she never had the cojones to do that. That's at
true.
All.
That's true. I'll give you that.
All right.
But
it's not a justice for Anthony. It's a hashtag blame for Kiernan.
I like that. So
that's my new
much.
hashtag for this book.
Yeah. All right.
That's the end of part 1.
Oh, yeah.
She goes to Europe. Do you want to be done?
Yeah. We can herbs enough to do whatever. Okay, so
you said you wanted to go till the end of part 1. I'm just telling you your wishes.
I know, you're totally right. Yes. We just have to herbs like motherfuckers throughout this next one.
You know, I can herbs with the best of them. I'm ready to go.
Yeah. All right, listener, I will say that I think you heard a little bit of my soapbox today. Please tune in for next episode because I plan on getting on another soapbox next episode.
Okay.
Just
all right.
Get ready.
Phil, do you have a lady love?
I do. It is something that Kat C posted in HB's for Mental Health, that little group, that little subgroup. And it says, hard to swallow pills. And the subtitle is Rejection Sensitivity. And it's got like all pictures of different types of pills. But one of them is, we can't make everyone happy. Another one is, anyone gossiping about you is insecure about their own life and needs to feel superior.
Mm-hmm.
And then there's, the right people love you. People aren't analyzing your every move.
Mm-hmm.
Everyone isn't mad at you.
Mm-mm.
You don't have to be perfect to deserve respect. And some people won't like you, no matter how nice you are. and that's okay.
Mm-hmm.
That's my lady love.
Those are good.
Yep.
Mine is that Cat My Bear Cam is like really taken off. I hope that, well, when will this come out? I hope salmon season is still going when this comes out because, man, that Brooks Falls Cat My Bear Cam that is live and you just like watch all the bears catch all the salmons is like really good right now. There's like 9 bears at all times, middle of the night. So if you wake up in the middle of the night and you're like, gosh, I can't get back to sleep, Cat My Live Bear Cam is something to watch. It'll be cooking even in the middle of the night.
I'll include a link in our show notes.
Okay, perfect.
Yeah.
All right. You can find us on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, on Facebook, Heaving Bosoms Podcast. Facebook group is the Heaving Bosoms Geriatric Friendship Cult. Twitter is at Heaving_Bosoms. And is that we can get merch, all our catchphrases and delightful merch on Redbubble, Heaving Bosoms. And you can get to our Patreon on our website and get all our bonus content, heavingbosoms.com. And that's it, I think.
Yeah. Hooray.
All right. Okay, guys. Keep being a badass.
And love yourself like the grin you get when you're a possum eating a sweet tater.
No. You didn't do them for long enough that I thought it was over.
Oh, it is.
All right.
All right. Bye. Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.